Good morning. Thank you again for the opportunity to be mine in the Halacha and the Rambam. I want to share with you something that I have never shared with anybody yet. I wrote something on it, but I never printed it. In honor of my bar mitzvah, my father and I went Yud Shvat Tafshin Lamed Gimel to the Rebbe. Afterwards, I had a yechidus with the Rebbe. Specifically, my father said, I came just to bring my son to get a bracha for his bar mitzvah. We had been already that year Simchas Torah and yechidus, so we had a second yechidus, which was unusual in honor of the bar mitzvah. I had known that the Rebbe's custom was to speak to the bar mitzvah boy about what he was preparing to speak, but I thought that obviously the Rebbe would ask me to repeat the Maimer. The Rebbe asked me, "Did you prepare anything for your bar mitzvah?" I said yes. So the Rebbe asked me, "What did you prepare?" And I said, "I prepared the Maimer." And the Rebbe said, "And anything else?" I said, "Yeah, I prepared a pshetel." That's how my father called it, a pilpul. So the Rebbe said, "Tell me the pilpul." So I started saying the pilpul. 13-year-old boy, what do I know? So the beginning of the pilpul, the subject of the pilpul was on the Gemara of Kol Mitzvahs, Av Alaben, etc., Tefillin, and it right away segued into the concept of Tefillin, Laila's man Tefillin, Laila loves man Tefillin, and I said, the Gemara zogt, Vishamarta Sachuka Azois Miyamim Yamima, zogt the Gemara, Miyamim Yamima Yom V'lei Laila. So the Rebbe asked me, I don't understand. That pasuk is referring to the dinim of Korban Pesach, of Pesach. Why suddenly in the middle of Pesach, the Gemara learns out something about Yomim Yamima, Yom V'lei Laila connected to Tefillin? I was stumped, and that's we went on to other things. So today I'll attempt to answer the question that the Rebbe asked me. B'Hashgacha Pratis, it's on the Rambam that we're learning today. The Rambam in Perek Daled Halacha Yud says, Zman hanochas tefillin bayoim v'loy balayla. The time of putting on tefillin is by day and not by night. Shenemar, because it says in the Torah miyamim yamima. So chuka zu mitzvah tefillin v'shamarta zachuka azois miyamim yamima. Which chuka, says the Rambam? Not Pesach. It's tefillin. So miyamim yamima yom v'loy layla. The Chayin Shabbos is Yomim Tovim, says the Rambam. Not only Laila, but Shabbos is Yomim Tovim. Einei Zman Tefillin is not a time for Tefillin. Shenemar v'hoya l'chol ois. It should be for you as a ois, the whole purpose of Tefillin is a sign, is a ois. The Shabbos is Yomim Tovim. Hein atzman ois. And Shabbos and Yom Tov is an ois, so therefore it's redundant. We don't need another ois. We don't need another ois, another sign. There are those that say that you need every day a yid needs to have two ois, two signs. So Mila bris is an ois. So the yid always has a ois. Anyways, on the bris, on the Mila, and therefore he either needs the ois of Tefillin during the week or the ois of Shabbos during Shabbos. Okay. So number one, we see here that the Rambam brings two different psukim. He brings one pasuk of the Shamarta Sachuka Zois Miyamim Yamima for the weekdays, and V'hoil Chalois on for Shabbos and Yom Tov. The Kesef Mishnah right away brings down what the Rebbe was meramis to, that there's a machlokes in Tanoim in Menachos Daf Lamed Zayin, Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yossi Aglili. From where do we learn whether this indeed this pasuk of Miyamim Yamima refers to Tefillin or refers to Pesach? And the Rambam learns, obviously, that this refers to tefillin. Okay. The what's very interesting is that the lashon of the Rambam, from the lashon of the Rambam, it's mashma that the chilik, the difference between or the isser of putting on tefillin by night, of tefillin at night, is not that the tefillin should be on you by night. The lashon Rambam is very meduyik. The lashon Rambam is zman hanochas tefillin bayom v'lo balayla. In other words, putting on tefillin, having tefillin at night is not the isser, says the Rambam. The isser is hanochas tefillin, to put on tefillin, and l'chayda needs a little ashtikel hesber. What's the pshat? What does this mean? That the isser is not so much that the tefillin should be on you. The isser, says the Rambam, and Sefer HaMitzvahs and the Mefarshim talk at length, which we're not going to go into now due to the time constraints, that it becomes a lav. The isser is the hanochas tefillin, the putting on of the tefillin, not that she you all of. And therefore, this leads into another subject, which again, unfortunately, due to time constraints, we can't deal with. The Rambam doesn't mention the chiyuv of chalitzas tefillin by the weekdays, and therefore there's no. He doesn't mention about what other poskim talk about, the chiyuv, a bracha when you take off your tefillin, because according to the Rambam, the isser of having tefillin at night is not a isser of having the tefillin on you. It's the isser of hanachas tefillin. And this is something that needs to be understood, and it's not so understood, especially in light of the famous explanation. The Rebbe brings it down also, I believe, in Sichos Chelik Yutes, if I'm not mistaken, based on the Rogachover, that there's a difference between the Tefillin Shel Yad and the Tefillin Shel Reish. The Tefillin Shel Yad, the Chiyuv is the Hanacha, Lahaniach Al Yad, and the Tefillin Shel Reish is Shiyu Al Reish. So there is a concept of not only of putting on tefillin, but also having tefillin. So the question becomes, why is the Rambam specifically concerned or specifically relates that the isser is hanachas tefillin and not so much that the tefillin should be on you? Specifically, we see, as we'll see later, there's a extreme difference in this halacha itself. So the Rambam, the concept is, what the Rambam talks about is man hanochas tefillin, and then he says that however, if the tefillin are on you, if the tefillin are still on, so therefore mi sheiniach tefillin in halacha yud aleph, mi sheiniach tefillin kodim shetishkach chama b'chashecha v'hein olav muter. It's muter ve'ein meidin davar zabarabim. So we see clearly that according to the Rambam, the isser is the hanochas tefillin, and not so much that it should be on you. So the question also becomes, what happens if a person had put on tefillin before Shkia and the tefillin were stayed on? The question is, so according to the Rambam, there's no isser to take, there's no chiyuv to take them off. However, is he mekayim the mitzvah? There's a similar discussion regarding bris, whether, and of course we all know how, because the Rebbe mentions it many times, the three gedarim in bris, but the poskim talk a little bit, marachar zerua, whether the chiyuv of a bris is the pu'ulas hamila or that it should be a mal. So the same thing, the discussion revolves around in tefillin, whether the chiyuv of tefillin is to actually put on tefillin, or that the tefillin should be on you. So if, according to what we said over here, that during the week, the isser is to put on the tefillin before at night, but if you put the tefillin on before, you don't have to take them off. The question becomes, have you done a mitzvah, or is it just a passive concept? We'll see that there is a nice nafkamina regarding this in. So In any case, the diuk of the Rambam is very interesting. As we said before, when it comes to the weekdays, he says, Zman hanachas tefillin bayom v'lo balayla. Shenamar miyamim yamim. However, when it comes to Shabbos and Yontif, he doesn't say, V'chein Shabbos is yamim tovim, ein la'aniach tefillin. He says, ein on zman tefillin. So there's a beautiful sefer called Emek Bracha from Reb Mordechai Pogmaransky, who makes a nice diuk. He says that when it comes to the issue of having to putting on tefillin, to putting on tefillin at night, the Rambam writes Zman Hanochas tefillin. It's mashma clearly that the Rambam is medayik, that the issue by weekdays is to put on the tefillin. However, when it comes to Shabbos and Yontif, he doesn't say the issue of Hanachas tefillin. He just says Zman tefillin, the time of tefillin. What's the difference between the according to the Rambam, the issue of the weekdays and the issue of Shabbos? So we could say that the issue, so to speak, is when it comes to the issue of having tefillin by night, because according to the Rambam, Laila loves man tefillin. So the issue, according to the Rambam, is only lahaniach tefillin, to put on tefillin. But once the tefillin are on, there's no chiyuv to take them off, and therefore there's no chiyuv to make a bracha. And we could even say that since there's no chiyuv to take them off, there's a possibility that even he's doing a mitzvah. He's doing a mitzvah while they're still on. However, on Shabbos and Yontif, it's not the inyan of that. It's not a hafkah of mitzvahs tefillin, of the etzem mitzvah tefillin. It's not the pshat that there is no mitzvah that on Shabbos and Yontif there's no mitzvah tefillin, and therefore you have to take them off. No, fakert, the isra on Shabbos and Yontif is primarily because there's another ice, so therefore it's not needed. So therefore therefore it's not needed, and therefore you have to take them off. So on Shabbos and Yontif there's no mitzvah because it's a redundant ice. And therefore, the Rambam doesn't say that there's an isra of hanachas tefillin. It's just Shabbos is not zman tefillin. However, when it comes to the weekday, it's the isra is the isra becomes it's zman. It's not you're not allowed to put on the tefillin, but once it's on, once the tefillin are on, you're mekayim the mitzvah. What would come out very nicely is that now we can understand, according to the Rambam, why tefillin is a mitzvah saseh shazman grama, because if we say that if it would only be mitzvah the Indian that we don't need to have tefillin because let's say on Shabbos there's already an extra ice, so that wouldn't create the zman grama. However, if you say that the isser is that there is a if you say the isser is that it's also haniach tefillin balayla, so now we can say that that's because since tefillin is not shaykh to the night, is a isser to haniach tefillin. So now we can understand why, according to the Rambam, it's a mitzvah saseh shazman gram. Let me just conclude that the Alter Rebbe in Siman Lamed takes a completely different approach. From the Rambam. And the Rambam, the Alter Rebbe writes in Siman Lamed, Laila Sif Aleph, Laila Zman Tefillin Hu Min HaTorah. That the truth is, says the Alter Rebbe, not like the Rambam, that Laila is a Zman Tefillin. Shezesh Nemer V'Shamartis Achukah Zes L'Mayada Miyamim Yomima. The fact that it says Miyamim Yomima, which means Yomim V'Leileiles Eina Kosev Medaber B'Chukis HaTefillin. The Torah is not talking about tefillin. He holds like Rabbi Akiva L'B'Chukis HaPesach. Shnemer L'Maylo V'Artov Es Aved Hazayis. The Rambam takes according to the Shita of the Tanoim that Miyamim Yomima refers to Pesach. So why aren't you allowed to have tefillin? Abu Chachamim also Nech Tefillin B'Layla M'nei Shu Zman Shina, because it's a time of sleep. V'Gzeru Shem Yishach V'Yishim B'Hem V'Aseh Lishim B'Tefillin. So therefore, but the Rambam doesn't mention this concept of Shema Yishamem, or he doesn't mention it in the context of this of putting on film. So we have over here an incredible nafkamina how the Rambam and other Rishonim learn halacha l'maisa, the machlekes of miyamim yamima, whether miyamim yamima is connected to the mitzvah of tefillin, and therefore it's according to the Rambam, it's the issur is only to put on tefillin, because maybe the pshat is that the Rambam learns that the ikar mitzvah of tefillin is laniach tefillin, and therefore the issur would be not to put on tefillin by night. The Shulchan Aruch, he learns that there's no issur of putting on tefillin that night. The issur only becomes because of Gzera D'Rabbanan Shama Yafiach B'hem and Shama Yishkach. And the nafkamina would be in a case of where we're worried, where a person would there's a nafkamina. It's discussed. If somebody didn't put on tefillin, says the Alter Rebbe, until Tzeitzak Echavim, you couldn't put on tefillin. Thank you very much.